I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
What's up, everybody? You're tuned into another episode of the Man Listen Show. Before we get started, let's hear a few words from our sponsors.
DD's Daiquiris is your #1 supplier of premium daiquiri mixes. You will love the taste of our classic margarita and signature strawberry mixes. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at DD's Daiquiris. DD is spelled DEEDEE. You can also find us at www.dd'sdaiquiris.com. DD's Daiquiris, giving good vibes to good people, one good drink at a time.
Are you in the state of Texas and looking for a knowledgeable loan advisor that will walk you through the process from application to closing? Well, then you need to contact Joe Byers at Trinity Oaks Mortgage. Trinity Oaks Mortgage offers FHA, VA, and conventional loans. They also have a first-time homebuyers program available. There is also down payment assistance available as well. Make sure you contact Joe Byers at Trinity Oaks Mortgage. You can reach Joe at 972-512-8990. Are you looking for a virtual assistant who can help you with your scheduling, travel, research, and expenses? Demi Virtual Solutions is the answer for you. Demi Virtual Solutions also provides mobile notary services. They will travel to take care of your needs. So if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and need a virtual assistant or are looking for mobile notary services, contact them at 469-522-9005, and you can find them on their website at demivirtualsolutions.com. That's DEMI virtualsolutions.com.
More Grace Counseling and Mediation Services offers individual and relationship counseling as well as mediation services to the community. At More Grace, healthy partnerships are valuable and beneficial. Please visit the website www.moregracecounseling.com for more information about our approach to counseling. More Grace Counseling and Mediation Services, where we offer more grace and more healing.
Please buy the new book by Arika Nicole Moore, Diabolical Tales of Woe. Diabolical Tales of Woe is a thrilling collection of short horror stories that leave you in an excited trepidation to see what will happen next. Prepare to face one horrific encounter after the next in this captivating novel. You can find this book on Amazon in the Kindle and paperback version. That is Diabolical Tales of Woe by Arika Nicole Moore.
Conversate With Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. You can follow the show on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Man Listen Show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and give us the thumbs up. Please share the show and make sure you share the hashtag ManListen. I am your host, C. So we're doing something a little different today on the Man Listen Show. We are actually interviewing the brother who's the mastermind behind the show. Marv, go ahead and reintroduce yourself for us.
What's up? It's your boy Marv B. How y'all doing?
Good. Tell us a little bit about why we're interviewing your book.
I got a book coming out, y'all. It's called Mythbusters, Lessons from Active Black Fathers. So it's a book that has been on my mind for years. I've been kicking this around, as a project, trying to say, okay, I knew what I wanted to write, but, other things kept getting in the way. Life kept getting in the way. And just to sit down and write something, it's a task, it's a task. And, I looked at different people who had books. I looked at my sister, Arika. She was on her second book, and make sure everybody goes and cops her books. Lost, a book of poems, and Diabolical Tales of Woe. please cop those books on Amazon. But yeah, I was just inspired. And, with this pandemic, sitting around and, when the pandemic hit, we talked about it, how people were just eating and drinking, during the quarantine. And I fell into that trap, man, gained some of the weight I was trying to lose back. And then finally I was like, you know what, now I gotta do something productive with this time. So started a business and started to actually work on this book that I have been thinking about for years, and got inspired and just finished it. So we launched today, actually. People can go copy it, www.activeblackdad.com. So that's why we're here today.
So what was your inspiration behind writing the book?
I just thought that we as Black men, we often get a bad rap. And definitely there's some brothers who need to step their game up and to be involved with their family, do better by the community. But I just thought that I knew Black men who were involved in the lives of their children. And I also knew Black men who were uncles, who were older brothers, that were involved with their nieces and nephews. And I also saw how Black men, when they were involved with their children, if there were kids in the neighborhood who may have been missing that father figure, they became that father figure for those children as well. So I knew that it was a falsity to say that we as Black people are inherently deficient and that we got all these babies running around who don't have dads. And that's why all these things happen to us. And really what happens to us is systemic racism. And that's why a lot of our fathers aren't in the home. That's why they're locked up or doing different things, and we're no worse than anybody else. And actually, if you look at the stats, Black men are better than other demographics when it comes to being involved with their children. So I wanted to dispel that myth. And, I'm a nerd, so I used to watch the old TV show Mythbusters, where they would, the science guys, where they could be like, can you really walk on water? And they would try to, see if they can, walk on water. They would do different things like that. So the Mythbusters stuck in my head, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna put that together with lessons from active Black fathers, and that's what popped.
It's funny you said that. I noticed that too, where you said that that Black fathers are actually more involved than others. So I can remember, I think I was in high school and I was watching something. I think it was really the first time I, heard like somebody try to say that and like, use like a racist tone, or like, oh, you guys don't even know your dad. And then I started looking around and thinking like, I don't have one friend out of a group of probably like 15. We all went to elementary, middle, and high school together, and not one of them, don't know who their father was. So I remember watching that on TV. And then of course that triggers your mind. So you start reading, and then you realize, like you said, the systemic racism that, started the whole myth, decades prior to that. So,
well, the thing about it is, if they can create a narrative that makes it seem that we are somewhat deficient, we are, lacking, we are less human, then it justifies the bad stuff that they do to us. So we were all born in the 80s. So we grew up in the time. Remember when they was talking about the crack babies? Oh, it's the crack babies, the crack babies, the crack babies. Has anybody ever really seen a crack baby? I've never seen a crack baby. I ain't never seen a grown up crack baby, but it was just these narratives that they put out to try to just, dehumanize us. And I think it's the same thing that they push with that. And they push it so much that we started to internalize it and say it as well. So that's why I think it's so important for us to put this out here to say, okay, yes, you may not be with the woman that you had a child with, right? But you still can be very much active. You still can participate in that child's life. And I wanted to take the lessons that I learned and the mistakes that I made, and I wanted to be able to pass those lessons along to people. My book is a very short book. It's very easy to read. And if you're a dad who has young children, it'll have a different effect on you versus a dad who is a teenager. And this is a book, I call it a field manual, because you can read it, and then as you go through your life as a father, you can say, wait a minute, I remember that story. And you can go back to it and apply that wisdom that I share in the book.
I think you actually hit on something that I was going to ask about. When you talk about, you may not be with the woman that you have a kid with. And I think that actually fed into the narrative as well, was the narrative in this country that, you know, the nuclear family, you have to be in a nuclear family and everything like that. And like you said, systemic racism and other things like that have made that very difficult in a lot of different places for Black people to stay in a nuclear family. And so, you know, that just added to that narrative as well. And as I've gotten older, and probably similar to you, you kind of understand that, yeah, you could be a great dad. You don't have to be with that woman to be a great dad, you know. And I think that held some brothers back, honestly, in the past. And maybe on the opposite side as well, maybe they weren't as welcoming to having their child's father be around if they weren't in that relationship.
You know, there's a chapter in the book where I talk about valuing your seed. And it's a lesson that I put out to brothers who are out here having children with multiple women. Now, I want to be clear that, you know, I'm not being judgy. I'm not being judgmental. I'm not condemning people, because things happen, right? Things happen. You can, you know, have a child with somebody and y'all realize, you know what, this ain't really the person that I want to be with, but y'all can work it out and still be co-parents and make things happen. But a problem that I see with some brothers is that our masculinity and our manhood is tied to how many women we can sleep with. And I've seen a few brothers who have multiple baby mamas, multiple children, and even if they wanted to, you still couldn't be the type of father that you should be to your children if you had that type of dynamic going on. There's no way. There's too many personalities. If you got 5 children, 5 baby mamas, and you gotta, you know, split time and try to go pick them up and try to coordinate all that and try to keep everybody happy, keep everybody satisfied, that's tough. And I know guys who try to do it, and it's hard on them. It's hard, and they're not able to have that type of fulfilling, satisfying relationship that you can have as a father, because they had a lapse in judgment by just spreading their seed everywhere and not being careful about where they go. Because you got to really be careful with who you have children with, you know, because you could be that person that you have a child with. They could have some, you know, generational family traumas that are passed down to your child. And then you got to deal with that. Then you got to deal with them and their family. So as much as you can, try to make sure that you are valuing your seed. And the message that I'm really trying to get across is, you know, we tell young girls all the time, respect yourself. Respect yourself, respect your body. Don't be out here just sleeping with everybody. But, lad, I mean, you know, just like us, man, I wasn't given that lesson. Actually, it was the opposite for me. For me, when I was a young teenager, like even the women in my family, my older cousins, my aunties, older women, female cousins, how many girlfriends you got? And when they didn't say it like it was a bad thing, it was like, how many girlfriends you got? You know, and it was like I was encouraged to have.
And really, it really starts. I mean, think about it before you're a teenager. Like I see little boys in elementary school, and you know, sometimes you think it's fun and games, and you know, you'll see uncles or cousins or whatever joking with them and stuff. But that's sowing those seeds early on. Yeah, and like you said, then you got to prove your manhood by doing that, you know, because you don't want to let Unc down.
Right. And we tell our young women to respect their bodies, but we haven't told our young men to respect their bodies.
Right.
You quick to call a girl who's promiscuous a hoe, you know what I'm saying? But your son who's sleeping with multiple women too, he's just as much a hoe as they are. We're gonna throw around those labels. So let's keep it real. Let's teach them all to do the right thing, if that's what we want to consider the right thing.
Right.
So with that being said, we all know that having multiple baby mamas or baby daddies and stuff can create drama in your life. But what would you say is the biggest challenge faced by Black fathers today?
The biggest challenge I see faced by Black fathers today is what we talk about all the time. I think it's this surviving in this system and trying to do the best that you can. You know, being able to go to work and provide for your family, knowing that you're not making as much as your counterparts, making sure that you come home every day, you know, when you confronted violence in the streets, violence from the police, and then having to deal with the stressors that come with life and come from everything that's put on us, and still be able to be a functional dad for your family. Because I'll be honest with y'all, man, there was a time when I wasn't a great dad. I thought I was. I really did. I thought I was going through the motions. You know, I thought because I brought a paycheck home every day, the lights never got cut off. I was at every practice. I was at every game, you know, every band recital. I thought I was being a great dad. But because I wasn't working on myself, everybody saw right through that. They saw the depression. They saw the anxiety. And fortunately, I was able to catch it in time to where they were still in a place, my children were still in a place where I can form and mold their mind to let them know, hey, listen, yeah, you saw me when I was dealing with that, but you also saw me do what I needed to do to fix it. And I want you to do the same thing and know that there's no shame in having to do that. If you got to reset and talk to somebody, if you got to cry it out, there's a story in the book where I talk about my son and how I used to tell him he better not cry. You better not cry. And how I regretted that, because as an older man, as a grown man in my 40s, it got to a point where I was so bottled up with, you know, just grief, depression, anxiety. I had trained my body and trained myself not to be able to cry, because like I said, well, if I cry, I sound like a bitch, and I hate sounding like a bitch. But I needed that release. And it wasn't until I got that release to where I just felt like the world was off my shoulders. And I thought about how I taught my son that same messed up practice. So I went to him and I was like, hey man, you know, if you got to cry it out, cry it out. Go ahead and cry it out. But once you get done crying it out, now it's time for action. So that's just part of things that we try to do as Black men. You ain't gonna always have the right answer, but being there and being present and trying, that's what you need to do.
Are you looking to reach young Black men before their fathers with your book? Or is it more of just like you wanting to get out there that and tell different stories of how it is a myth and how Black men aren't in their
I
children?
think this is a perfect book for, like, if you have a teenage youth group and you're talking about sexuality, homosexuality, and the pitfalls and the trappings of parenthood and being a parent at an early age. It's the perfect book for that. I think if you have a men's group, like in a church or your fraternity, where you'll say, hey, listen, man, we want to come together as men and talk about the things that affect us, it's the perfect book for that, because there are stories that I tell about myself that I know a lot of people can relate to. And each chapter has discussion questions where I ask questions, you know, what did you think about this? Each chapter has 2 to 3 questions. So if you have, like I said, like a youth group or a men's group, you can drive the discussion with the book, and it gives people the opportunity to open up and share their stories, because that's really what it's about as men. You know, we were taught for so long to bottle it up, man. Just soldier up, man. You know, whatever's bothering you, as a man, you ain't got time for that. You got to keep pushing, and that's killing us. It's killing us. You know, bad stuff will happen to us, and Lab will know, man. As a man, you know, what's the thing that we say all the time? I'll be all right.
Yeah.
I got it. I'll be all right. I got it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Ain't no need to complain, and I just got to keep going. And we're gonna, I got it. I'll be all right. Ain't no need to complain ourselves right into an early grave, because we stressed out and depressed, and we need to have somewhere to release it. And it's good when you have other men that you can talk to, and you can say, hey man, I'm struggling right now. You know, this is what I'm going through, and not feel weak, to be able to have that vulnerability. So I made myself real vulnerable with this book, because I wanted people to know that it's okay to do that, because that's really the only way that you're going to get to a point where you can be the best man, be the best husband, be the best father that you can be.
And I know you talked about the men's group and young Black teens, but you kind of went into what it's like as far as raising sons and saying it's okay to cry, and, you know, not using the cliche, don't cry like a girl, or, you know, stop crying like that. Like you said, the B word and all the other stuff. So it sounds like it probably be beneficial, not just to men, but maybe to women who have sons or who are raising Black men.
I think so. I mean, because the reality is this: there are Black women who are single moms. There are. And, you know, the dad is not present. And there are hopefully surrogates in their community. Because I know myself, I know some Black women who don't, where the dad isn't active, or He's there sometime, he's not dependable, whatever. And a lot of those kids were friends with my son. And I can't tell you how many times my son even picked up on it. You know, there was this thing we did with his football team, and it was called Decals with Dad. And what you do is you go up, and every season you decorate your son's helmet. Y'all do it together, right? But inevitably, there was always like 5 or 6 young men who didn't have a dad there, right? And the team would kind of try to plan for that. They would have like extra coaches come up, you know, to try to, you know, be with the kids to make sure nobody was by themselves. And, you know, us as dads, you know, we could see the guy, he don't want to ask for help, but you're like, hey, man, come over here with us, man. Let's work with it. And you could tell that it really made them feel better. And that's the type of thing that I think we need to do. And to go back to your question, yeah, it is good for, you know, a single mother. You know, it is good because it's good knowledge that from a man's perspective, she can say, okay, this is the type of direction I need to give to my son. So yeah, absolutely.
So how does it feel to be changing the narrative about Black men and especially Black fathers?
Now I'm excited about it. I'm excited because, you know, when you put something out that's personal, when you put yourself out there, I mean, we do it all the time with this show, right? We put our opinions out and we don't know if people are going to agree with it or not. There's times we didn't put our opinion out and people was like, man, y'all was smoking crack. What was y'all talking about? You know what I'm saying? And normally we don't care, but right, we're going to keep doing what we do. But it's somewhat nerve wracking to put out your book and you're like, man, I wonder if people are going to like it, you know? Like I said, my book is short. You know, I had some anxiety about that. I was like, man, I'm gonna put out this little short book, man. I know people who are academians write these big old thick books, you know what I'm saying? And my stuff's here like a little pamphlet, but it's quality. It's quality and it's gonna have that effect because I wanted this book to be for the brothers who are mechanics, brothers who work the garbage truck, to the brothers who are CEOs. I want it to be for everybody. Like we talk on this show, we for every Black person, not just rich Black people. We for everybody in the Black community. That's what I want it to be about. So it's nerve wracking because you're putting something out there. You don't want it to be whack, right? But I think people will like it though. I think it's going to have a good effect on folks.
I know people will like it.
Right. And if it's short, they'll finish it. You know, how many long books I've
Yeah.
started, but I haven't finished. So
Yeah. I
Yeah.
got about 3 of them that I've started so far this year that I haven't finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and really this is, you know, this is your first go at it. So naturally that leads to my next question, which is what's next? I know you have, is there a secondary book or a follow-up that you have in mind? Because, you know, a lot of people, you know, like Arika, I'm sure she's working on book 5 by now, even though only 2 have been released, right? Right. So you're always thinking ahead. And so is it, do you have plans on furthering this topic or developing it more, kind of making it a series type deal or something?
You know, I thought about it. Right now, I'm not really at that place because I just finished this book and I put it out. Really, where I want to go with this is more speaking engagements, getting with other Black men who have different specialties, so that once things open back up after the pandemic, we can put on conferences. So we can have somebody who is an expert on financial planning, like our brother Armand Kroon. We can have somebody who is a specialist in nutrition and fitness. So we talk about taking care of our bodies. We can have people who are focused on mental health, and we can have a seminar. We can have Black men come in, and we can just talk about those things and be open and be vulnerable and make ourselves better men for our wives and for our children, right? So really, that's probably the next step that we're going to take this. Of course, we're going to, really promote the book and put it out there. But I've been kicking around like a part 2. If I do a part 2, it's probably going to involve my wife, talking about, us as, parents and how we really work together as a team to raise these children. Even though sometimes we weren't getting along the best, we still were able to put that aside to be a good team. So if I do something, it would be that. But right now, it's just more so really carrying out the mission in terms of dispelling this myth about Black fatherhood and then making us as Black men better for our community.
Do you have a favorite chapter?
Yeah. my favorite chapter would have to be about my dude. In the book, his name is Sparky. I had to change people's names because I didn't want to get sued by anybody. You know what I mean? So I had to give everybody, the only people that had kept their real name were my mom and dad, because, you know, they're both deceased and, you know, I'm their child. But the chapter about my dude Sparky, and for people who know me, you know, you can kind of assume who that is. But talking about him and his impact on my life, and how outside of my father, he was the man that had the biggest impact on me growing as a man. And actually, he actually had a bigger impact than my father, because, you know, my dad, he knew about how to spoil children, right? Because for years, all he had was his nieces and nephews. So he knew, okay, I'll come in like, oh, I got a bunch of candy. You know what I mean? Who wants candy? Oh, you want this toy? You want this tricycle? You want this? He was real good at that. But in terms of like me opening up and talking to him about my feelings or anything like that, nah, I just never felt comfortable enough to do that with my dad. So I'm glad that God put somebody in my life who I ended up being able to do that with. You know, I remember, you know, when you first like get like start thinking about sex or whatever, and I had got a condom and I had it in my wallet, right? So I wouldn't even have sex. I didn't even have no girl or nothing. I just call myself being big and bad with a condom in my wallet, just in case, right? Didn't even know what I was doing. And my dad found the condom. So instead of him having like a conversation with me about, okay, do you know what this is about? You know, you understand, you know, what happens when you have sex? Do you know how to use it? This, that, and the other. This dude just sat down next to me and was like, hey, what you doing with that dick rubber in your wallet? And I'm like, dick rubber in your wallet? And I'm just like, and I threw my cousin under the bus. I was like, Carol gave it to me. And he was like, oh, okay. And that was it. And, you know, thankfully I learned from that lesson.
Yeah.
So it was time to have that talk with my kids. It was much more open and, you know, a two-way dialogue. So, yeah, you know, probably the book about my boy Sparky, that's my favorite chapter.
Okay.
One of the things that you already touched on is how hard it is for a writer to put out these personal things and then wait for that feedback from the public to see if they're really going to like it, or, you know, respond to it and relate to the message that you're trying to convey. Are you going to have your son read it and then get feedback from him? Because to me, it seems like that would be one of the most interesting reviews that you could get in this situation. Because, you know, my kids, I was like, no, that ain't how it happened.
You know, he's just at that age, man, where he just don't care. You know what I mean? Like, you know, will you leave me alone? If I walk the dog and take out the trash, will you just leave me alone? Can you give me some cash so I can do what I got to do? So I don't think right now, in the phase that he's in his life, you know, it really matters to him. But I know eventually, because I know how I was as a young man. When I was his age, I wasn't trying to be around my parents either. They didn't know nothing. But as I got older and became a young man who was a husband and a father, I was longing for that time to be able to talk to my parents. Because, you know, I lost my parents young. I lost my father in 2000, so I was like 23. I was 23 when I lost my dad. And I lost my mom like 5 years afterwards. So, and I was just starting my family. So there was just a lot of questions that I had. I was thankful that I had other people to fill into the gap. But, you know, you go through that stage where you really want to talk to mom and dad, and it sucks when you're not able to. You know, I know we've all dealt with some sort of grief, but eventually he'll come back around and we'll read that book and we'll laugh and it'll be okay.
That's what's up. I think that I tried to force my kids to read my book. They have not. So I understand what you're saying. Those teenagers, they're like, lady, leave us alone. Give us some money and go away.
I try to show him the book. I was like, look, I got the cover of the book, and I made sure the little boy looked like you when you was a little boy. He was just like, okay, that's what's up. And just walked off. I'm like, damn. You know what I mean? Like, you can't give me no props. What's up?
Hey, you better be glad he ain't be like, so I get a cut then, huh?
You ain't getting no cut. You got your cut over the last 18 years. That was your cut.
Where's his royalty check?
Nah, you got advanced royalties. You in the hole.
Man, so I'm guessing you didn't dedicate the book to the kids, or you did?
That's about all they got was a dedication. They get no funds. They get no funds
Right.
at all.
That's it. Well, I know I'm proud of you. I know we had talked about it for a while leading up to it, and it's like a daunting thing to have an idea that's this huge idea, and then you have to reduce it down to paper. And a lot of people get stuck at the enormity of their idea or their plan, and they never make it to the part where you break it down to actually bring it to fruition. And so we're proud of you at the Man Listen Show, you know.
So we're all very proud of both of you. You're both inspiring authors right now.
Yeah.
Labrika, I know you have the 2 books, and then Marv with yours. Lab, we're going to have to write a rap album or something
Man,
to get like them.
I seriously though, Ricky, man, dude, I've seen you grow like tremendously, just like in the time I've known you, man. I'm proud of you, man. You really have made tremendous strides, man. Seeing how you are with your kids, that's phenomenal. I think you're a phenomenal dad. The name Mythbusters is I like that because I like the show too. But I did have one. Is it a myth that Black people like sweet potato pie over pumpkin pie?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a Mythbuster when it comes to that, right? Because it's straight pumpkin over here. Straight pumpkin.
Every week, y'all try to get our title revoked.
Nah, but straight up, man.
Wait. The other myth was, in terms of being involved in the community and being politically active, and how most Black people align with the Democratic Party, most of us, but we got a Mythbuster on the show as well. Our sister she dispels that myth, right?
We all need to switch over, really. Like, I don't give out no hostage votes. Like, you're not going to get my vote just because you aren't the other person. Somebody's got to start earning it.
I know, I'm messing with you. Yeah. Honestly,
everybody got to start earning it, really.
Yeah.
They do, especially Joe right now. We're going to put the pressure on. People were talking about, his cabinet picks. I said, man, I don't care nothing about them cabinet picks. Where's the policies? Yeah. Where's the policies? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but yeah, we're going back
about this student loan debt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
$10,000 at least.
Then they were talking about, well, we can forgive $10,000.
Yeah, it's only $10,000.
All of it. Take all of it.
Right.
Listen, I'm never going to pay them. Never.
It's just like an extended mortgage. You just plan on paying it each month for the rest of your life.
That's it.
No, they're never getting my money.
It's tough.
Right.
It's tough, man. But
especially after we found out Mizzou wasn't even supposed to be charging us.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what though? Going back to the books, Erika really inspired me, and not in a way that, because sometimes people be like, "Oh, if they can do it, I know I can do it." No, not in that type. Because that comes from more like a hater perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Ego.
I was more inspired. I'm like, man, here's this girl. I call her a girl. She's a grown woman, but I still look like a little girl that came to Mizzou back in the day. Here's this girl, wife, mother, and she puts out this dope book. Because the book to me was dope, partly because I know her, and some of the stories I kind of knew where it was coming from, but then also I was reading the book and I would find myself reading it in her voice. So when it's like when the person was talking, it was like that. How like you have a voice in your head. I was hearing Erika's voice, and I was like, "Damn, this is dope. This is like real. This is like for real dope. Like she's having this impact on me, and I'm able to support her." So, it inspired me, and I'm just thankful that I was able to get it done. I had a lot of people help me, and I tell people, every single person that helped me produce this book was a Black woman. Every single person, from Stacey Fitzgerald Red, who helped me write it, in terms of, we sat down and we talked about, okay, these are the words I want to put down, and, we fleshed it out together. I actually had a book, because if it had came to me just sitting down and typing, for 2 hours a day, it wouldn't have happened. It just wouldn't have happened. So she helped me bring it to fruition. My publisher, Black woman from Mizzou, Edie. Shout out to her. And then her whole team was Black women. The graphic designer for the book cover, the format, content layout person, whoever did the copyright and all that stuff. Every single person was a Black woman. So I wanted to put that out there because, people always talking about how Black men aren't affirming Black women and how we don't, support our Black women. Every day on this show, we prove that wrong. We the Mythbusters with that. Because I tell people all the time, I say the dopest people on our show are the sisters. They the one that make the show. Shit, so
Facts.
you know what I'm saying? They the
Facts.
ones that make the show. So that made it more important to me. That even though this book is directed towards Black men, I still want to put it out there. It's a collaborative effort. And, we all we got, and we got to stick together.
All right, one more time, Marv, tell them where they can find the book.
You can find the book at www.activeblackdad.com. You can buy the paperback version, or you can buy the ebook. I also have t-shirts available that say Active Black Dad. So if you want to buy one for your husband, for your dad, your brother, your cousin, make sure you do that. They come in multiple colors, a lot of the pan-held colors, also in the black and white for the GDIs. So anybody can find a shirt that they want to wear and help just dispel this myth, So when you see it, when people see you out with your children or they see you just out and you got this shirt on that's saying Active Black Dad, it may start a conversation. And if you're like me, one thing that I can talk about all the time is my kids. Right about now, I'm talking bad about them because they're all young adults and teenagers, so they real stupid to me right now. But if you talk to me long enough, you know that I love them and I would do anything for them. So just make sure you go out to the website, www.activeblackdad.com, buy the book. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, that's definitely because I think we talk about legacy all the time and we always kind of make it seem like legacy is just finances. But now that you have this book, this is a legacy that you're leaving for your son. So he'll always have this wisdom from you.
Yeah.
All your kids, the women too.
And my daughter too. Yeah. Because and I want to put that out there because that's one of those things where I thought I could have did better. Looking back at it, my son was my dude, right? Because he's a phenomenal athlete. We was always together doing stuff. I could always buy him gifts that I secretly wanted myself. I remember he got like a dope from his grandparents, like this dope remote control truck, like this big old remote control truck. And everybody was laughing because when he opened it up, my eyes were just as big as his. I was like, whoa. And then I had to put it together and I was like, let me make sure that it works right. So I'm outside driving it. And he was like, Dad, can I? I was like, just hold on, man. Let me make sure. You know what I'm saying? But I wish that I had taken more time and brought my girls along a lot more because I was just like, okay, I got the boy, you got the girls. And although my girls love me to death and they know they can always talk to me, and my girls open up to me about anything. We just had that type of relationship. I do think that I could have did a little bit better in divvying up the time. But with that being said, I'm sure if you were my son, from his perspective, he would say, "Shoot, I had it hard. They didn't, because whenever I messed up, Dad was on me, and I was, because my thing was I need to make you a good man. You carry my name. So whereas I might just fuss at the girls, I was laying hands on myself. We believe in corporal punishment in this house. I mean, that's just what it is. So when he messed up, he was getting roughed up. And I remember my youngest girl was like, well, Jalen has it easy. And everybody looked at her, and was like, you talking about Jalen, right? Like, when we just get told to go to our room, Jalen getting snatched up, like, yeah, you tripping. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you want to be treated like Jalen is. So I wish I did a better job of that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but now you're going to help other brothers do a better job. So
Right. You
Atonement.
learn the lessons, man, and share them. That's huge.
Yeah.
A lot of times, kind of going back to the beginning, what you were saying is we're so me as a Black man, you've been taught your whole life, just keep stuff in. So even experiences that you go through, you can look at experience and you've been through that same thing. You just look at somebody and let them and watch them failing. And you just look at them like, ain't that something? When you could have been the person to help them, and so that's a huge aspect of the book as well. I appreciate that.
I'll tell you this one last story. I used to coach my son, and I talked about in the book how it was hard on him because I had this anxiety about that daddy ball, like him being on the court because he was my son. When in reality, he was just cold. He needed to be on the court. But anytime he made a mistake, I was on him. I was on him. And then when practice was over, in the car ride home, I was on him. So not only did he have coach at practice, but he had coach driving home. He had coach while he was eating dinner. He had coach after he got out the shower. And I finally realized it was a white dude that told me how he did that with his son. And then he had to realize, like, he sat there and he looked at his son and he said, you know what? Your coach is an asshole. And I thought about that and I was like, damn, I'm doing my son that way, And fast forward, I was at a practice and there was another dad with his son. His son was having a hard time in practice. And I saw them walking to the car, right? And I could tell by the way that while he was walking to the car that he was about to get in his son's behind. And I said, hey, man, come here. And he came to me. I said, hey, man, let it go. I said, he didn't already went through practice being embarrassed, messing up. If you get on him in the car and just ride him on the way home, it's just going to make it worse for him, man. Let it go, bro. And he looked at me. He said, man, you knew exactly what I was about to do. And I said, yeah, I know, because I made that mistake. And we dapped it up and hugged it out, and it was okay. So like I said, man, share my mistakes, and hopefully I can help people.
That's dope. We need more of that, really.
Yeah, I hope so.
Too many of us out here making mistakes that everybody else has already made before.
Right.
All right, thank y'all for tuning in for today. Sounds like that about wraps it up. We're going to end the show. Please follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. If you enjoyed it, please share it. Add the hashtag Man Listen. We definitely like to hear the feedback. Please hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. And if you like the show, please share it and add the hashtag Man Listen Show. We'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.
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 Peace.